Hey friends, good afternoon. So we are about to start processing some of our tomatoes from last year's garden. These have been in the freezer and they really need to get taken care of. I've thawed them out. We're gonna start turning these into some sauce. And then we also have these tomatoes that were given to me recently. I have 2 bags here. So I need to get these processed before we start getting tomatoes out of the garden and we are overrun with responsibilities. Okay friends, we have our sink nice and cleaned out. We're going to add our fresh tomatoes in here, get them really nice and clean with some vinegar and water, and then we're going to get them cored and cut up. And we have our previously frozen tomatoes over here. We're going to go ahead and get these going, let them start warming up, and we have our additional ingredients. We have some fennel seeds here, 2 whole sweet onions, some dried garlic, onion powder, and basil. We are going to be turning this into a pizza sauce. That's my favorite thing to do with my tomatoes, that and salsa. So I'm going to get the stove going and I'll catch up with you here in a second. Okay, finally, we have our sink cleared. Our compost is over here now. There were some bad spots on some of those, but they weren't too bad. There was a really strange wax coating on some of those tomatoes. The ones that were given to me, my sister is the one that gave them to me. I'm not sure where they originally came from, but it was like a wax coating, so I was really trying to get that off. But anyways, you can see our stock pot is really full here. We're going to let this cook for a long time. It's going to cook down quite a bit. We're going to go ahead and add 2 tablespoons of sea salt just to kind of get this going. I'll probably add some more during the cooking process. Now when you're canning, you want to use a non-iodized salt, so any natural salt is going to work. You don't really have to use canning salt. Now once this cooks down quite a bit, then we'll add in our additional ingredients. But that's going to be a while, so I will catch up with you guys here in a little while. Okay friends, I've added another tablespoon of salt to this, about maybe 2 tablespoons of dried garlic, 2 teaspoons of basil, and about probably 2 tablespoons of onion powder. Now we're going to add in some of this fennel. I'm probably going to add about a tablespoon of that, and then we're going to let this continue to cook. Okay friends, you can see that that's cooked down about 2 to 3 inches now, so we've added in our onion and we're going to let this cook for another 2 hours, maybe 3. Okay friends, our sauce now is ready to be blended up. I am not straining out the seeds or the skins. I don't remove the skins. I leave them in there, and it actually helps to thicken up the sauce. what I actually do is blend it up in a blender. Normally I would use my Vitamix, but that is deep in storage and I cannot get to it, so I pulled out our old Ninja here. It's not going to be as smooth, but it'll work. So we're going to transfer this a little bit at a time to our Ninja here, and then pour it into this big stainless bowl and repeat. So we'll get to that. Okay, that is a lot of tomato sauce. You can see this huge stainless steel bowl is full. If you see some little black specks in here, that is just where the tomatoes charred just a little bit on the bottom of the pan, which I was fine with because it gives it that fire roasted flavor. I am trying to get off what is left in this pan with some vinegar and water. I've got it going on the stove, and that'll come up here in just a few minutes, and I'll clean that out really good, and then we will get our sauce back in there to do the final thickening. I had a little bit left here that wouldn't fit in the bowl, so we'll just combine that in the pot as soon as I get it clean. Alright, I remembered I do have some frozen green bell peppers, and I'm going to add these to a little bit of the sauce in here, get that blended up, and then add it to our pot. And I'm going to add a little bit of balsamic vinegar also. Now I'll get this in here. I did not completely puree this, so we'll have a little bit of our green bell pepper chunks in here. And then we'll add in some of our balsamic. Alright, now we have everything mixed in here. I'm going to let this cook down a little bit more. Like I said, make it to the consistency that you want if you're making this. But I usually cook it down to about a pizza sauce consistency. If I want to make spaghetti out of this, I could just add a little bit of water or tomato juice. And then that will work out just fine. Okay, now I have this loaded up. Nesco does say that it holds 5 regular mouth pint jars. You can see I have 6 in here. This is just what I do. I'm not saying that you should do this, but I've noticed that when I only put 5 in here, there is quite a bit of banging together, and I don't like that happening in my canner because that can break your jars. You do have to do a little bit of Tetris here to get them all in here, but this is what I do. So now we're going to go ahead and get this, well, as soon as I get that out of the way, we're going to go ahead and get this lid down. When you start out with this, and I'm sorry, it's a little bit dirty. It's been sitting in storage. When you first start out on this, you want to put it on the exhaust. That can be either way. Right in the middle is the airtight. That's your seal. Now, if you live above 1,000 feet, you're going to want to use the green weight on this. I'm below 1,000 feet, so we're going with the original one on here. That works just fine for our area. Okay, we are pressure canning on high here. We're going to push high. Now, this is going to go for, I'm going to try to do this without making so much noise. Sorry. 20 minutes for this. If you're doing quarts, you're going to do 25 minutes. And that's the same time if you are going to be doing this on your stovetop pressure canner as well. So once we get everything, make sure the lid's secure, your valve is turned the right way, we're going to push start. Now you're going to see that little thing going around and around and around. It can take up to 30 minutes for it to get to the correct pressure for it to start steaming. But once it does, you'll see some steam coming out of the top here. And once it's reached that, it's going to put on here a little, I think it shows E10. Some people think that's an error code. No, leave it alone. That's counting down. That's your steam release. Even on your stovetop, if you're doing that, you want to let it steam release for 10 minutes. And then after that, you seal your valve up. If it's this one, we'll be turning this to the middle. And then once that happens, it'll start counting down that 20 minutes for the pressure canning process. All right, we have 1 minute left out of that 10 minutes of steaming, and this is what it looks like. So don't think something's going wrong if you do this. After that 1 minute is up, it will beep, and then we start our 20-minute countdown. Okay, you can see, there it goes. It just ended its 10-minute countdown for that steaming. Now we turn it to seal. That's in the middle. And here in just a few minutes, it's going to start its 20-minute countdown. Okay, it just kicked over to building the pressure. You're going to see that thing going around and around again. Remember, don't touch it through any of this. The only thing you needed to do was set that seal. Now we just leave it alone and let it do its thing. Okay, once this thing is off, let it depressurize naturally. Do not vent it yourself, or you can get softening from your jars. Now, this thing has sat here long enough to where it has depressurized. So we're going to start pulling these jars out. I wanted to find a towel to put down on my cutting board here. You always want to put your fresh hot jars down on something that's not really cold. Okay, I'm pulling the rest of these out of here. Whew. I don't have much room to lift above this because the cabinets are right there. Yeah. And here I'm starting to pop. Now popping is a beautiful sound. That means that your food is preserved and it's sealed. Alright, we got 6 out here. Checking to see how much water we have left in there. Sometimes it does use a little bit. You might have to put some more back in if you're doing multiple rounds. But we're going to go ahead and get 6 more loaded up and continue canning.